So you know that Donald Trump has been levying some threats to his allies, some militarily and some economically.
Lopez, you said you were considering military force to acquire Panama and Greenland. Are you also considering military force to annex and acquire Canada?
No, economic force.
The incoming American president specifically and has explicitly targeted
So everyone proverbially is kind of girding up their loins for what's to come because no one really knows what the heck to expect at this point. They don't know what to take seriously. They don't know what policy is really going to stick. At this point, it's pretty much just a guessing game. At this point, it's pretty much just a guessing game that you're doing your best to not destabilize your entire economy on. So you know that Donald Trump has been levying some threats to his allies, some militarily and some economically.
Mr. President, if we were to work under the assumption that you're serious about making Canada the 51st state of the United States, the leader of the Conservative Party in Canada said, under no circumstances will it ever be the 51st state.
Maybe he won't win, but maybe he will. I don't care.
You had suggested.
Listen, I don't care what he says.
But Mr. Lopez, you said you were considering military force to acquire Panama and Greenland. Are you also considering military force to annex and acquire Canada?
No, economic force. Because Canada and the United States, that would really be something.
Economic force to straighten Canada out for a deal that you made. Got it.
I'm thrilled to speak to the American people to share truly historic news for our nation and indeed for the world. I want to thank Vice President Pence for joining us this morning. It's my great honor to announce that we have successfully completed negotiations on a brand new deal to terminate and replace NAFTA and the NAFTA trade agreements with an incredible new US-Mexico-Canada agreement called USMCA.
Now, some people could look and just take it as a joke to say that he wouldn't really do something like this.
Right.
I do believe, in all honesty, it would be fair for me to say that there's no love lost between Justin Trudeau and Doug Ford. Probably no love lost between any of the premiers and the prime minister. One surefire way to bring forth unity is to give them a common goal. You could put it another way. Give them a common enemy. Now, while this enemy, it might not necessarily be Donald Trump the person, but it might be the threats that he's levying in the form of tariffs. With that said, everyone has to be on the same page. Even Doug Ford said this a little bit earlier as he was sitting right beside Justin Trudeau.
Donald Trump is a brilliant negotiator. That's what he's done his whole life. That's exactly what he's done. And he's sitting there with a big smile on his face thinking, wow, I'm going to divide and conquer. Remember one thing, united we stand, divided we fall.
And so it looks like Canada's getting their ducks in a row, getting themselves prepared, making sure everyone's singing the exact same song and that they operate in a form of harmony. With that said, though, while the country's trying to protect itself and while the leaders are getting themselves ready for what's to come, you have some agents, as you would call them. Danielle Smith, the 19th Premier of Alberta, she tried to meet with Donald Trump privately to see if Alberta might be exempt from the tariffs.
We are heading into another critical week for Canadian politics. Premiers are set to meet with the Prime Minister to discuss a response to tariff threats from U.S. President-elect Donald Trump. The government says all options are on the table, as one premier already had her own meeting at Mar-a-Lago this weekend. Danielle Smith ensuring energy exports are front and center in the ongoing talks.
It could be one of Canada's most important bargaining chips, but is the government willing to use it?
What I can tell you is everything is on the table.
Foreign Affairs Minister Mélanie Joly had that to say when asked if the government is prepared to cut off energy exports south of the border, a step the minister wouldn't rule out in the face of Trump's 25% tariff threat.
For those who are watching us right now, it is important to understand that the threat is real and we're acting on it. And that's why I'm calling every political leader in this country to be on board, because this is not time for division.
CTV News has confirmed Canadian officials are narrowing a list of American products that could be targeted with retaliatory tariffs.
Subtle. You can't threaten, but you can certainly point out things that are obvious that might get overlooked in the rush to policy in the U.S.
Yeah, so do you know why they mentioned that one aspect of unity is because Danielle Smith was not at her office. She was at Mar-a-Lago. And one thing that I can't confirm, but I think I can tell you, is that Donald Trump hates disloyalty. If there's one thing that we can all confirm that he hates, is disloyalty. I think he'd rather have those people that are willing to go down with country as opposed to those people that are willing to just cut a side deal with him and say what you want. And trust me, I've said a whole lot about Trudeau, but her not being willing to stand with her own leader in what some would suppose requires emergency strategy. And what do you think Trump told her when she showed up to Mar-a-Lago with Kevin O'Leary?
We're supposed to help our people.
So there are a couple of points that do need to be addressed, which is one, fix the border. And two, they're not going to keep anything off the table. As long as there's tariffs coming one way, you know there's always going to be retaliation in some form. And three, and this is where Danielle Smith is right, that Canada has to hold an election so they can put someone in office to negotiate on their behalf. There's no real need to reiterate all the trade agreements and the cooperation that the US and Canada have had. Everyone is already fully aware of the level of harmony between the two nations.
Remember one thing, united we stand, divided we fall.
Can I jump in there?
Just a sec. Well, I'll pass over to you in a sec. I just want to point out something in what Doug Ford just said. Doug, the incoming American president specifically and has explicitly targeted one industry in Canada, one sector of the economy, and it's not the Alberta oil industry. It's the Ontario auto sector.
No, it's not.
It's an auto pact that has been incredibly successful for 50 years in building cars on both sides of the border that benefits both Canadians and Americans. That's the target. But you don't hear Doug saying, oh, no matter what, we got to protect the auto. Yes, he does say that, but it's not at the expense of everything else. He's just pointed out that he's a Canadian first, as much as he's passionate about Ontario. And I think that's something that we all share across this table. Of saying, you know what, the interest of this country means we're going to have to look at everything we can, and we'll make sure that it's fair across the country, but nothing can be off the table if the U.S. continues to choose to move forward with these punishing tariffs on both Canadians and Americans.
That was right.
What did you say?
That was right.
What?
Trudeau was right. What are your thoughts on the matter, though? Do you think Danielle Smith was actually correct in doing what she needs to do in order to protect the energy sector? With all the lines that cross through the provinces, threatening to cut one off in order to levy retaliation probably isn't the smartest idea, but they did say everything was on the table, so you have to be prepared at least. Or do you think, no, everyone just needs to prepare for the worst? We need to do whatever it takes to bring down the price of eggs. Whatever your thoughts are, leave them in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like, and I will see you again on the next one. Be easy, y'all.